Imagine a town so small that if a stranger drove through, everyone would notice. A town surrounded by endless stretches of Australian outback, red dirt roads disappearing into the horizon, dry grass swaying in the heat, a place where there were more wild animals than people. That town was Larrimah, a tiny settlement in Australia's Northern Territory, and in 2017, one of its most recognizable residents was a 70-year-old man named Paddy Moriarty. Paddy lived a simple life. He spent most of his days with his loyal red Kelpie dog, Kelly. Locals saw him regularly at the town tavern. He enjoyed conversation, a drink, and the slow pace of life that came with living in one of Australia's most isolated communities. Nothing about him suggested he was about to become the center of one of the country's strangest mysteries. On December 16, 2017, the day began like many others. The Australian sun beat down on the dusty roads. Residents went about their routines. As evening approached, Paddy visited the local tavern. People spoke with him. Some shared drinks with him. Others exchanged the usual small-town conversations. To everyone around him, Paddy appeared completely normal. There was no sign that anything was wrong. As night fell, he left and headed home with Kelly by his side. Several people saw him. Nobody knew they were witnessing the last confirmed sighting of Paddy Moriarty. The next morning, the town carried on as usual. But something was missing. Paddy didn't appear. At first, nobody thought much of it. In a remote place like Larrimah, people often kept to themselves. Maybe he was resting. Maybe he had gone somewhere nearby. But as hours turned into days, concern began to spread. Friends checked his property. His belongings were still there. His vehicle hadn't moved. Nothing suggested he had packed up and left. Then came an even stranger discovery. Kelly was gone too. The dog that rarely left Paddy's side had vanished without a trace. Now alarm bells were ringing. Police were called. Search teams arrived. The vast Australian wilderness became the focus of an enormous investigation. Helicopters swept over the landscape. Volunteers searched through thick bushland. Officers followed dirt roads that stretched for miles into the outback. Every possible lead was investigated. But there was one problem. There was no sign of Paddy, no sign of Kelly, no obvious evidence, no clear explanation. It was as if both had simply disappeared into thin air. As investigators began interviewing residents, they discovered something unexpected. Larrimah wasn't the peaceful little town it appeared to be. Beneath the surface were years of feuds, arguments, and personal grudges. Many residents didn't get along. Some hadn't spoken to each other in years. Others openly accused their neighbors of causing trouble. What looked like a quiet outback community was actually filled with tension. Detectives found themselves dealing with a town where almost everyone seemed to have a complaint about someone else. Rumors spread quickly, accusations followed. People pointed fingers, but no one could provide proof of what had happened to Paddy. Months passed, then years. The mystery attracted national attention. Journalists traveled to Larrimah hoping to uncover answers. Documentary crews arrived. The strange disappearance became one of Australia's most talked about unsolved cases. People across the country asked the same questions. How does a man disappear from a town with so few residents? How does his dog disappear too? Why was there no trace? And if something had happened to him, who knew the truth? As investigators continued examining the case, suspicion eventually fell on a neighbor with whom Paddy had reportedly had a long-running feud. The allegations led to court proceedings years after the disappearance. But there was still a major problem. Without a body, without a confession, and without definitive evidence explaining exactly what happened that night, many questions remained unanswered. Even after years of investigations, hearings, and public debate, the disappearance of Paddy Moriarty continued to haunt Australia. A man walked home one evening with his dog. And then, neither of them were ever seen again. To this day, the image remains unsettling. A lonely road, a fading sunset over the Australian outback, an old man and his faithful dog walking into the darkness, and somewhere beyond that darkness lies a mystery that Australia has never fully solved.